And yeah, no offense, Darth. You're passionate.
James, I'm not easily offended.
Okay, good. You said that you were going to be reasonable. James? You said you were going to be reasonable.
I am being Darth. Reasonable, and I'm not going to be.
Okay.
You know what, James? Hey, James.
Darth.
Don't ask me to be.
Darth. Okay, Darth. Listen. What the heck? Okay, that's all right. Sometimes we butt heads a little bit, and we say you let everybody down.
Wait, yep. Okay. Go. Right.
You got it, dude. We're always late. If we were on time, people would be worried. This is okay. This is gonna be fun. And Darth, can you hear me?
My audio's working now.
Awesome. We are stoked to have you, Darth.
Well, let's hope it's not a train like with the past interlocutors.
Oh, Darth. How dare you? Well, this is going to be fun.
Well,
I think...
I would hope you would know me a little better, huh? All your fans have been telling me that you've watched my stuff.
Somebody played a few minutes of some evaluation of me. That's it.
So you're little henchman lying about what you're doing.
I can't comment. I don't know what they told you. Somebody played some clip of a few minutes of you doing a critique of me.
So I am excited that you guys are already friends, and I want to let you know, Red. I hate to talk about you while you're right here, Darth, but at least it's transparent. So you know, Red, that Darth is very passionate. He will oftentimes be out of passion. He'll continue until he knows that you have something you want to say in return. And that's, like, I can't blame a person for that. So one thing I just have to ask you to do is, if you don't say anything, like, Darth will talk the entire 60 minutes. So but it's okay, Darth. So if you just make it'll be easier on me.
It's not my fault. That's the lithium batteries.
So Red, it'll make it easier on me though if you just say, hold on, is it okay? Can I just interject there? Because that way I know for sure that you want to interject, because otherwise I'm kind of like, is Red or whoever it is, I'm like, are they quiet because they're just kind of listening and they're like kind of processing, or is it that they're actually wanting to say something but they don't want to interject? Because basically you'll have to interject, because otherwise, I mean, I guess I could do like a random courtesy check every like 20 minutes and be like, okay, Red, just to be sure. But we're always very laissez-faire here, and so Darth, it's kind of like you put a quarter in him and he just keeps going until it runs out, which is never. So
I have no problem interjecting when I need to interject.
Okay, great. And yeah, no offense, Darth, you're passionate.
James, I'm not easily offended.
Okay, good. I appreciate that.
So
Darth.
how's
You're not a soy boy.
Volume sound in chat? Everything sounding good before we go live here?
Darth, in the top left, you'll see Sterling. He's our producer tonight. He is doing all the tech stuff, so we're really thankful for him. And my internet over here isn't strong enough, so Sterling is saving the day. And do either of you plan on using screen share?
No.
Gotcha.
No, I don't.
You got it. And then last, do either of you have a preference on who goes first?
No.
I don't care.
You got it.
Darth can go first if he wants.
Okay. Sounds like Darth, you're cool with that. We'll have Darth go first. And if I remember right, which I think I do, 10-minute flexible opening statement from each side, followed by open discussion. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Cool. I'm going to do one last double check to be sure you guys are linked in the description. And then I'm stoked. So always fun. So yeah, dearest Sterling.
The pictures are in. So yeah, they're not quite wide enough to fit the fifth screen, but they're in there, like in their boxes.
That's no problem, Chief. And yeah, otherwise, I guess what we can do is we can get rocking and rolling. So what, Sterling, if you're ready, Friendly reminder that those little mute buttons on both your mic and then on desktop audio on those two tracks in the mixer, if you hit the mute on those, and then you can start streaming with the music and with the sweet.
How's that look?
Did you start streaming?
Yeah.
See. Oh, perfect. Okay, I see it.
Oh boy. Good, I'm still muted.
Okay.
Oh, they can hear us. I can tell.
Yeah, I can
Are
hear
you
it on
sure
my
that you
end.
have me like desktop audio on mute?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's all right. No problemo. Cool.
Be good now.
Okay. Same thing as always. So what we'll do now is, and remember, Sterling, the cool thing is you can actually on OBS, like once you mute yourself, you are okay. You can basically just leave it that way because we'll always be able to hear you through Zoom. So it's okay. You can just leave yourself on mute on OBS and for the whole show, you'll be fine because you're not debating tonight. But don't do that on other times when you're actually debating. And then what was it? What we'll do is when you are ready, you can let me know. You can say 3, 2, 1.
Gotcha.
And at that point, you can switch to the next
go,
scene.
ladies
and
and
then
gentlemen,
once
and
that
everybody in
gets
between,
toward
here we
the
go.
end, where basically it just shows the logo as normal, before the screen goes black, if you could switch us to the dialogue boxes, and we'll get rocking and rolling.
Awesome. Okay, so I have the video ready. I can hit transition now, or like I can see 3, 2, 1, and then it'll see, and I'll be able to see it on the right side, right? So I'll know how long it goes for.
Exactly. And remember, you can just tell me once the logo video, once you're clicking into the dialogue boxes, you can say, go, James, and because OBS won't hear you.
Gotcha.
So cool. Ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, thrilled to have you here for another epic debate. This is going to be a fun one, folks. So want to let you know, first, if it's your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button, as we've got a lot more debates coming up. So, for example, you'll see at the bottom right of your screen, we are very excited to be hosting a debate soon on Flat Earth this coming Saturday between Team Skeptic and Flat Earth Aussie. Now, we are very excited, folks. Want to let you know, both of the speakers linked in the description. So if you're listening and you're like, I want more. Well, you can hear more. There's plenty more where that came from just by going to those links in the description that I put there for you. Next, today's going to be pretty flexible. So it's same as what we usually do
no
with
sound, James.
Oh, that's right. So once like we go live, Sterling, you have to unmute me. I can't hear you, Sterling.
Sorry about that. I got you. It's unmuted now.
Okay, you got it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thrilled to have you here for this epic debate. It is going to be a lot of fun. So first, welcome, whether you be Christian, atheist, or one of the many strange creatures in between. We hope you feel welcome here, as we are a neutral channel. We have no positions. We are just here to host the debaters as they make their cases. And if it's your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button, as we have many more debates coming up. For example, this Saturday between Team Skeptic and Flat Earth Aussie, a Flat Earth debate, which should be a lot of fun. And want to let you know, folks, for today, it's a fairly flexible debate where it's going to be a flexible 10-minute opening from each side, followed by open discussion for about 60 minutes. Also, if you have a question, feel free to fire it into the old live chat. And just to make it a little easier for me to make sure I get every question in the list for the Q&A at the end, if you tag me with @ModernDayDebate, it makes it easier for me to make sure I get every single question in the list. Also, Super Chat is an option, in which case you have not only the ability to ask a question, you can also make a comment toward one of the speakers, to which they would, of course, get the chance to respond to. And we ask that you be your regular friendly selves for that. So we are very excited, folks. We're going to kick it over to Darth Dawkins first. And for Darth Dawkins, want to let you know, folks, he is back. We are very excited to have him. He's got a 10-minute opening statement. And Darth Dawkins, welcome back to Modern Day Debate. We are thrilled to have you.
Yeah, my opening statement is simple, short, and sweet. The God of the Bible, the God who created the heavens and the earth, has revealed himself through natural revelation and special revelation. All facts indicate God, either individually or collectively, and God has revealed himself through the course of human history to various individuals, and it has been sovereignly and providentially recorded, and that revelation is self-authenticating and attesting. If one denies that, or if one simply does not accept the presentation of God's self-disclosure and revelation, that will either be an explicit or an implicit counterclaim, which my opponent will have to defend. There will be no further evidentiary support or rational justification given other than my opening statement, that the revelation of God and natural revelation and special revelation is necessary and sufficient to conclude that God exists. And the non-acceptance of it is not neutrality. It is an implicit counterclaim. And I'm done.
You got it. Thanks so much for that. We will now kick it over to Red Venture as he'll do this is a flexible opening statement, as I had mentioned. So for Red Venture, the floor is all yours. You can use as many of those 10 minutes as you'd like for your opening. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So first of all, I'm an atheist who believes no gods exist, right? So that's the position I'm going to be coming from today. I have several arguments that I use to justify this, so in the case of the Christian God, or in the case of most monotheist gods, several of these fall fit for it here. So, things like the logical problem of evil, the incoherence of the Trinity in the Christian case, the evidential problem of evil, divine hiddenness are just a few. But that's not good enough for someone who believes no gods exist. I have to go a little step further. And so what I like to look at is interventionism from gods. So oftentimes you'll hear things like a storm or hurricane or something like that was sent by a god. When saying that, what that implies, or at least to me, is that God's behavior is such that he behaves as if they doesn't exist, or other gods, right? So there's two parts to that. Hurricanes and storms and stuff, they happen when the conditions are right for them there. So if God's, if a God of any sort, interventionist, a polytheist God, anything like that, wants to do those things, they're behaving in such that it's, they don't exist, right? We have other means and methods to do it there. And another one I like to use, another fun one, is what I call the Sims fire argument. So in the Sims in the game, one of the most common kind of meme things to do is to set a fire in a room with your Sims in there when you want to kill them, and then you go to build mode, delete the doors. They can't get out. They burn to death. So we don't see anything like that that would be different from what we see naturally occurring and stuff. So interventionism can't be there. So if they're here, if gods exist, they behave in such a way that they don't exist. And so if we want to get from that point, now we get to like the deist interpretation of God. At that point, we have Occam's razor, right? We don't have to multiply our assumptions any further. And I'm sure Darth is going to push that the metaphysical necessity of things like, Aquinas' 5 ways and stuff's argument, see prime mover stuff, fits God. But under Aquinas' understanding of divine hiddenness, which I hope Darth will provide some evidence for what he believes, or not divine hiddenness, divine simplicity, it can't be the Christian God. It can't be almost any kind of deist God. The best fit for those arguments is actually what I use the term metaverse just to differentiate from saying universe. If I say universe, people go like, they'll think the local space-time, so like in stuff in physics. And so when I say that, I just say metaverse to split it apart. So it's meets all the criteria for the prime mover. Doesn't have to be there. Even beyond that, that assumes an argument that infinite regress isn't a thing. I'm not going to defend infinitism tonight. It's a complicated argument. I don't think we're ever going to get to it. But it's just a point that I don't need to accept metaphysical necessity. I can accept infinite regress either way. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change my view. Let's see. Beyond that, the second thing I want to touch on. So Darth has kind of said, fuck it. We're not going to do. He's not going to provide any other evidence. So he mentioned. So I want to get into it here. Explain kind of what I want to try to hold Darth to in this discussion. I'll be out open, upfront with it. So he says, natural and special revelation are all you need to know God. But from my understanding of Darth, is that Darth denies evolution. I'm not sure if he's a young Earth creationist. Hopefully he'll answer that afterwards. But those are two things where in his worldview, he denies God's revelation. So I would like to know if he can deny those things, those facts, that if, so I'll go back to my thing before I was an atheist, I was a Catholic. And so we believe book of nature, book of scripture. So we take natural revelation and reinterpret our interpretation of scripture, right? So Darth doesn't seem to hold to that. So I want to know how Darth distinguishes between what the natural facts point to, like evolution, old Earth, if he's a young Earther, I don't know for sure. But yeah, that's one way. And another one, Darth also likes to argue, and I'm sure this is going to come up. He likes to bring up Hume's problem of induction and the uniformity of nature. So I'll open up and admit right here that I assume those things, right? I don't have a justification that's circular or anything like that, or a justification that can satisfy that. So I assume those when I go out and do those things. My question is, because Darth believes in miracles, that God does miracles, God can change things, how he doesn't run into a contradiction in trying to use God to justify induction in the uniformity of nature, if he can perform miracles and do the, change them from day to day. To me, that means that that means that God can't justify those things. So he has a contradiction in his thing that falls apart in a coherentist justification. So, and that wraps up kind of the key points I want to touch. We'll see where the discussion goes.
You got it. Thanks so much, Red, for that opening. We will now jump into the open conversation. So, gentlemen, we are thrilled to have both of you here. I'm sure this is going to be a lot of fun. Let's just jump right into it. The floor is yours.
Okay, you said you reject the natural and special revelation for God. Your position is there is no creator God. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. That position is a universal negative. Okay. How do you establish any universal?
I don't believe universals exist. Right. So
okay, if you do not believe any universals exist, then you cannot speak coherently about an array of particulars. You can't talk about dogs. You can't talk about cats.
No, I can.
Talk about rocks.
Right. There's
those are classes of things.
No,
classes
you're wrong. Right. So I would be either some form of anomalist, at the very least, a conceptualist. Right. So I'll just talk about conceptualism. Some of the nominalism stuff's a little wordy, a little high-minded to get into. So conceptualism is that universals don't exist outside, our thinking mind and our perception of things, right? So yeah, I deny universals existing outside of that part.
So there are no coherent and intelligible universal statements.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying universals don't exist, though, right? They exist inside our mind. Conceptualism, they're concepts, right?
Are any propositional positions that entail a universal, do they have a truth value of true?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they can do that in conceptualism. It's not hard.
How do you? Okay, so your position is a universal negative. How are you able to establish an account for any universal? including
I'm
your
a
universal negative.
conceptualist, or some form of nominalism, but conceptualism I'll take for the argument's sake here. Right? They're concepts.
Yeah,
They're
making a
mind. That's the only
You're
place they
making a
exist.
universal negative.
And I think in mind.
No,
you're wrong on what this is here. You just
so
plain
your
wrong.
atheism is not a universal negative?
What do you mean by universal negative? If we're talking about universals and particulars,
the position, the affirmation that God exists is a universal negative. The proposition that God does not exist is also a universal negative. Are you aware of that?
I'm a conceptualist. I've told you as much, right? So there's no. So let me ask you then. If you think, hold on.
Doesn't give me. I don't know what you just mean. I'm not getting a clear answer.
I just explained what a conceptualist is. You fucking moron.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Let's go here.
Do you accept that the proposition that God exists and the proposition that God does not exist, they're both declarations of the actuality of a universal negative?
So walk me through this. Let me hear what you think these things are. Quick.
Okay. That was a question. Okay. When somebody makes a universal negative, okay, it can be a positive statement that denies its negation, or it can just be an outright negation of a positive. So if one asserts that God exists, that is a universal negative, which entails the denial of the negation of God, that a not God world does not exist. Likewise, a
that
not
doesn't
God
follow.
world that is
Or excuse me.
No, it necessarily follows. Okay. Now, both the assertion of God's existence and the assertion that God does not exist, both of these propositional positions of putative actuality are universal negatives. Okay. Are we clear on that?
I still haven't heard the explanation for the universal negative, or what you think that is.
A universal negative is a statement that either God exists or God does not exist. Both of those propositions are universal negatives. Okay, I've explained it several times.
I mean, no, you're just asserting what they are. So explain a universal negative. So
if I assert positively God exists, that is the negation of a not God world. It's a universal negative. If I assert God does not exist, that also is a universal negative. Okay, it's not very complicated. All right. Now, do you accept that?
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that, but I don't see how that goes against anything I've said about.
So your position.
So you're moving to a different issue on universals instead of universals and particulars, Darth.
Your position is a propositionally a declaration of an actual universal negative. Okay, that's what your position is. It's a universal negative. My position is a putative actual universal negative. So we're both making universal negatives. What I would like to know from you is, in your frame of reference, how are you able to attest and account for that universal negative or any universal negative?
Just that class doesn't exist? Is that what you're looking at?
I'm waiting for you to demonstrate your universal negative. How are you able to know that anything is universal, including that there is no ultimate absolute creator God?
Well, I listed a whole bunch of arguments. I can go through them. Which argument do you want to challenge, or which argument do you want to go down?
Fill in the blank. There is no ultimate absolute creator God because
I said that beforehand. Like, so in the prime mover arguments, God doesn't fit, right? The best explanation for those, for the metaphysical necessity, right, in those situations, wouldn't be a God, or at least the God is described by Christians. Maybe you can come up if you are a pantheist or something like that.
Are you reasoning abductively?
All right, what's the question beyond this, right? I know this is part of your script.
Are you asserting God does not exist through an abductive reasoning process?
I mean, I have multiple different reasons: deductive, abductive, and inductive. Right. So I have
Okay.
plenty of reasons all down there, different ones.
Are you making an abductive reasoning that God does not exist?
In that particular case,
I'm waiting.
I mean, in that particular case, I don't know if that count as abductive. Might be. I have to go back through and look at.
No, I need to know a simple answer. Are you
What
making
simple
an
answer?
abductive argument? May I finish, please? Are you making an abductive argument that no absolute, ultimate, eternal creator God exists?
I said I've made in my intro. I made there's deductive arguments, there's abductive arguments, and there's inductive arguments that I'm using. I'm using all three to make it. So just trying to go.
Okay.
So what's
Now,
the question that you have after this? What's the next step? What's the next step?
Okay. So when you put forth your last argument, was it abductive?
Yeah, it's
okay. Now that's a fallacy because that's an inference to the best explanation. A best explanation is not necessarily true. It's a probabilistic evaluation. May I finish, please?
All right, go ahead.
Abductive reasoning doesn't get you to a logically necessary conclusion. Okay? It's a probabilistic evaluation. So when we're talking about God or not.
All right, well, let's go back. Hold on. Let me explain. Come back, Darth. Come back. All right, I'm not going to let you run away here. All right. So that portion, right? So I was talking about first a deductive argument, right? So the prime mover arguments, anything you go through there. And I'm explaining probably not clearly enough as, getting into this big discussion is not worth it.
You're not making yourself clear.
All right, but so I'm taking the deductive argument. So if you think like Aquinas' 5 ways, right? And I'm saying under Aquinas' understanding of simplicity, which you haven't answered yet. I brought up in my opening there what your idea is on divine simplicity. But under that view, it can't be a God.
I'm still waiting for you to give me an answer to fill in the blank. No absolute.
So come back.
May I finish, please? I will be quiet momentarily.
Come back. You're ignoring what I'm saying.
All right, guys. All right, stop it. Knock it off, you guys. Knock it off. You guys.
Thank you.
Before we get out of control,
okay. Thank you, James.
We'll just take a couple of minutes for each person. So originally Darth was saying something, and then Red, you had said, "I'm gonna let me bring you back."
Yep.
And Darth was surprisingly actually letting you lead the conversation. And then Darth, you started to jump in a little bit. So if you're willing to grant him this point where Red was going to go back to a certain thing he had in mind, then I promise we'll come right back to you, Darth. But let's just hear what that question was from Red or the statement. And I promise Darth will come right back to you. I just don't want it to spiral out of control.
I'm waiting for my question to be answered that wasn't answered.
So
I promise we'll come right back to that question. Darth, we'll come right back to that question.
And then
Red,
I'll bulldoze over you if I have to, but I gave a list of arguments in the beginning. So deductive, so the abductive argument I made when talking about the metaverse over God and stuff, that was on top of a deductive argument towards a metaphysical necessity, right? So when I'm making that argument, I had already granted that in that case, right? I'm just saying that under the divine simplicity, in those arguments, it can't be God. It can't be the Christian God. It can't be any God. And to make it work, I proposed earlier in my opening statement this metaverse concept that meets all the requirements, doesn't have any of the problems that a God has. So let me. So when we talk about unactualized, what's the phrase? Unactualized actualizer or something like that. He has no potentiality. So let me ask you. Before God created the universe, has he actualized the property or whatever of being a creator before that?
Logically, prior to creation, no.
All right, so he has potentialities still, and so he fails the divine simplicity that's required for the prime mover argument. So that's why I'm inserting.
I didn't make a prime mover argument. You made a big mistake.
No.
You seem to be under the illusion that I'm drawing from Aquinas. I'm not. I've never even read Aquinas' works. I'm familiar with them.
All right. Well, so then you have no. So what's your argument for a metaphysical necessity?
I've answered your question. Now you have made a universal negative that there is no ultimate creator God. I want you to tell me how you know that no ultimate creator God exists. What is it that is ultimate, that does exist, that would negate God as ultimate?
So I'd like to point out to chat here that he hasn't listened to a thing I said and goes right back to his script, right? He's not going to engage here. So let me ask you this.
I answered your question.
No,
I
you
answered
didn't.
your question in
No, you
good
didn't.
faith. I answered your question in good faith. Now I'm waiting for you
So
to
what is
demonstrate
your...
to me. Would you not overtalk me, please?
All right.
Now, I ask you to show me that no ultimate absolute creator God exists. The only way that you could do that is to show me what is ultimate, that is not God. Do you know what is ultimate and absolute and eternal, whose properties and attributes, or I should say which properties and attributes collectively would negate an absolute creator God? Do you know what's ultimate?
So we'll go back to this, the prime mover
No,
arguments
I
and stuff.
want an
No,
answer
I'm
to
getting...
my question.
I'm
What is
answering your
ultimate?
question. I explained it once already for chat, and then you kind of just ignored it and are asking the question over and over again, right? And ignoring my question. So, in the prime mover arguments, especially in Aquinas, it requires a certain simplicity that God fails, and you even admit it. God has, before God creates the universe, he hasn't actualized being a creator yet. So at that point, he has potentiality, and therefore is not simple. Cannot be the metaphysical necessity of the prime mover, right? So you've given that up.
I don't see how any of that follows. I'm still waiting for you to tell me.
What do you mean? So
how? I'm still waiting for you to show me. The only way that you can show me.
So how does
that
no? How does that not follow?
So
so explain to me why you don't think that
still
follows.
I'm still waiting for you to show me. The only way for you to demonstrate your universal negative is to present deductively what is absolute and ultimate that is not God. What is that?
I've said it multiple times. Chat has heard it, right? And so I want to continue on this.
I didn't hear what is ultimate. What is it that is ultimate and absolute, and what institutes and prescribes all possibility and impossibility that is not God? What is that ultimate?
Well, so we'll ignore the possibility and impossibility thing. We'll get that question down there going further, because that's not important to this question, right?
I didn't ask you what's possible and impossible. I said what is ultimate in reality will in fact institute.
Please hey, chat, did you just hear that? He ignored what I said, turned it into something I didn't say.
Do not overtalk me. Now, I didn't ask you a question about possibility or impossibility. I simply pointed out.
So I wasn't talking about possibility, impossibility, Darth. So quit trying to twist my words.
Would you please stop? Would you please mute his microphone?
Okay. Let's go back to. We have two questions. Each of you have a question. Hold on, I'm talking right now. Is if you guys each have your own question, what we can do is let's just take turns. And in the event that someone didn't hear something, if you just, I don't think Darth is being, maybe his connection went out or something. I don't think he's like trolling you by saying he didn't hear what the answer was. So I don't know if it was his connection or what, but so even given the circumstances, if each of you would like to just take a minute to answer the other question. So we'll start with Darth, and then we'll go over to Red. So Darth, you have 60 seconds to answer his question, and then we'll do the same with Red.
Okay, so whatever characteristics or properties or attributes that you bring up, right, they're going to have to be derivative and subject to what is ultimate. And you conclude that God does not possess this. Now, since the concept of God would be that which institutes all possibility and impossibility, the only way that you can demonstrate that there is no God is not to appeal to certain characteristics that are out there through lines of logic. You're going to have to show me and defend what is it that is ultimate and absolute that is not God as a concrete universal, to show that God does not exist. In order to falsify A, you have to defend not A. So my question to you is, what is it that is ultimate and absolute and the ground of all possibility and impossibility that's not God. What is it?
All right, so the metaphysical necessity I stated in my opening statement, I stated several times, is this concept of a metaverse. It means all the criteria that are laid out by the prime mover arguments, right? Something that God does not, right? So as I stated before, and I asked you, and you agreed to this, that before God created the universe, God hadn't actualized being a creator. Therefore, God still has potentiality and is not simple enough to satisfy the properties of the metaphysical necessity laid out by those arguments. Now, if you want to drop those arguments and go to some other kind of argument in favor of some sort of metaphysical necessity, so probably like the Kalam, I imagine, we can get into that. But you're going to have to give up these.
So the metaverse is what is ultimate and absolute. That is your negator for God.
Oh, I don't even have to talk about that as a negator for God, right? So I point out that God doesn't satisfy the metaphysical necessity, the properties that you want.
Hold on, Darth, let's just let him finish the sentence.
You're not understanding, okay? In order to falsify what is ultimate, you have to put on the table what is ultimate, that is its negator.
No, so that's not necessarily true.
No, it is necessarily true. It follows from the laws of logic. In order to falsify A, you have to present not A. In order to falsify God, you have to present what is ultimate that is not God. Is your ultimate that is not God, that falsifies God, is it the metaverse?
No, that's so hold on. That is wrong. So through logic and stuff, I just have to point out that your premises are false. They're not true, right? To falsify your claims through logic. So trying to say
you're not addressing my question. You keep on evading it. I want to know, is the metaverse what you're appealing to, which is ultimate, and is in itself a negation of God being ultimate?
So yes, for sake of this argument, yes. Because
okay.
No, hold on. I said now, so. You first hold on to get past, any metaphysical necessity. You still have to demonstrate that infinite regress is impossible, and I've seen no good arguments to support that. But I'm not willing. Hold on a second. There's
Well, while we're waiting for him to come back to the microphone, he just went on record saying that the metaverse
let's wait until
what is ultimate.
He's not even here to hear this, so let's just wait a second. I promise I'll give you a shot to make your case, but do want to remind you folks that the speakers links, including Darth's, are in the description. A little bit delayed on that, so thanks for your patience. And
sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, the other room's being noisy, so
now you cannot appeal to various strains of logic, because whatever you're appealing to is going to have to derive from what is ultimate. What is ultimate. Okay, well then here's what you're not understanding. Okay.
No, so hold on. Let me give you a little logic 101 here, bud. So the laws of logic that you try to hold to and craft your argument through are axioms of the system, whether or not they're true here. So we have different forms of logic that change those.
So you don't know whether the laws of logic are universal?
So hold on. Let me get here. Don't get here. Let me explain this to you, right? And explain
this
it to
whole
chat.
time you've been dodging and evading almost all.
I have not been dodging and evaded. I've asked it. I just haven't given you the answers you wanted.
And people in the YouTube audience clearly see it.
Okay, we'll let them be the judges later. But let me continue here, right?
Oh, I will.
So the axioms of logic, right? So, principle of identity, principle of non-contradiction, principle of excluded middle. There are other logics that don't use those.
Are you asserting that those are true?
I'm not saying anything about the truth of them. They're the axioms of the system of logic, how we use them. So we can change them and address different things, right? So we have logics that do away with the law of excluded middle.
Yeah,
right?
You're just, listen, I know all this stuff. You're just giving me rhetoric.
No, this isn't rhetoric.
Well,
this is explaining.
But Duncan, it's just to explain to the audience as well, like what his argument is, and then I promise we'll give you a chance to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, so we have logics that do away with the principle of excluded middle. So if your argument's going to hinge on those classical principles, laws of logic, whatever you want to say, are set in stone. Everything else there, and we can't do that here. We have logics that do away with. So we have multivariate logics, fuzzy logics, stuff like that that do away with the law of excluded middle. And then we get into dialectic, paraconsistent logics that, at the very least, weaken, if not, in some cases, get rid of the law of non-contradiction. Right. So going from this here, so let me ask you this: using logic, let's say we're starting a country, all right, and in the Constitution we write, all landowners can vote. And then in another line in the Constitution, we say no women can vote. Let's say somewhere in the future that a woman acquires land, right? So using the classical laws of logic, can you resolve that? What's the conclusion? Can she vote or can she not vote?
Well, I don't consider any of those reasonings coherent and intelligible, because you haven't demonstrated that the ultimate that they derive from actually exists. So those reasonings that you have put forth, you putatively put forth that they derive from the, how did you put it? The multiverse?
No, I never said multiverse, and none of this is a derivation. We don't need any of that.
What was the name? What was the name?
I said metaverse.
These principles. Okay, the metaverse. Thank you. Do all of these reasonings and thinking and thoughts, whatever, do all of these derive and depend on the ultimate of the metaverse?
These are axioms of logic, right? It's no
Right.
depending
Do
on
they
any of this
all
stuff.
derive?
Nope. They don't depend. They're axioms, right? We
I'm
can
trying
change them.
to have.
So
I'm
if you would
trying
answer
to
my
have an
question,
adult-
don't go run away from the
I
question.
am answering.
All
your
right,
question.
guys, hold on a second.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Thank you. You got to step in, James, because this is turning into
All
a
right.
cluster-fuster like the previous interlocutors. He's acting like a child.
okay,
Dude, I'm
let's
steamrolling your shitty
refocus.
argument, your shitty script.
So
You're not.
what
You're
we're
not
going to do,
steamrolling
you
me
guys-
at all.
So
Please
so
don't
can we
make
go
me
back
use
to
the
the
mute
question? Because
button.
this you're
All
trying
right.
to.
I hate to mute both of you, but you guys, I just spent a long day. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you each a couple of minutes to go back and forth. So do me a favor, hang with me. We're jumping right back into it. So would one of you be willing to defer to the other and letting them ask their next question?
Well, my question is still outstanding. All of these principles that he's putting forth, unless he wants to advocate that they're ultimate and non-derivational, then they are putatively derived from his metaverse. So what I want to know is, has he given us an argument that what is ultimate and absolute is the metaverse? Have you established that so that you can derive possibilities and impossibilities such as various systems of logic? Because various systems of logic will be within the domain of possibilities, okay? Possibilities and impossibilities will be instituted and sustained by what is ultimate in your model of reality, which you stated is the metaverse. Have you given us an argument for the necessary existence of the metaverse?
Yes, I've already gone through the prime mover argument and explaining how God can't accomplish it, right? God falls apart, and you've agreed to that, right?
No,
And you
we're talking about the metaverse.
Yes, and part of the argument to get there,
metaverse.
to what satisfies the properties and everything for the prime mover in those arguments.
What metaverse? I'm waiting for you to defend that there is a metaverse and that it's absolute, eternal, and ultimate. And by the way, is this metaverse a concrete one or an abstract one?
It'd be concrete, so don't go down that argument.
Okay, then if it's a concrete one, then you can make no distinctions. Any appeal to distinctions of the concrete one of the metaverse would be illusory. They wouldn't exist if it is a concrete one. Were you aware of that?
I mean, it's your script. I mean, you don't want to follow along and listen to what I'm saying. You're going to run your script wherever you want to go. So can we get back?
Do you know what a concrete one is in philosophy?
Explain it to me. I want to see you explain it to me.
If something is a concrete one, first of all, it's not an abstraction, okay? So it's an actuality that is not an abstraction, like, for example, a set of particulars, where we speak of it with one term or token. That would be an abstraction. So you said that the metaverse which provides for possibilities and various systems of logic and axioms.
So hold on, I never said any of that about the metaverse, right? We were talking about a metaphysical necessity when I brought up the metaverse. So quit trying. Hold on.
You're over talking me. I'd like to finish. You told me that the metaverse is a concrete one. Therefore, by definition of a concrete one, there cannot be concrete particulars. Therefore, you cannot talk about the actuality of particulars or actual distinctions when you refer to the concrete one.
So is God a concrete one? So what is God?
Is God?
Nope, is God a concrete one?
The God of the Bible is his oneness and his manyness have equal ultimacy. And we know this because he has revealed that through self-disclosure, through special revelation. Your metaverse that you told me about is that it's a concrete one. Now, since it's a concrete one, you cannot invoke any actual particulars. I'd like to finish. Since your metaverse that you're using as an ultimate, as the defeater for God as the ultimate, your concrete one has no distinctions or particulars in it. Therefore, all of your invoking of particulars and distinctions do not exist because your metaverse is all that there is ultimately, and there are no distinctions.
So come back to that. You cut out a bit. I missed the part of what your answer is to what God is.
Okay. I said God is what is ultimate. Your metaverse is a
No. Hold on. Come back. I asked you if God was a concrete one, right? Don't just say God is ultimate and move on to your script.
You need to chill out. I'll be glad to answer you, but you need to act like an adult.
You haven't answered me once
yet.
You've gone onto your script.
You need to act like an adult.
I'm acting like an adult here. I'm not letting you run away from my stuff.
No, you are not. You're
both
being
of you
argumentative.
guys. Hold on a second.
Now, don't give me this, both of you guys. I'm conducting myself properly here, James.
Darth, you have to just chill out.
You haven't listened to me once.
No,
you just got
what we were going to do is,
and then you argued a bunch of stuff.
What we are going to do is
calm.
What we are going to do is,
I'm perfectly calm. I'm not the one.
All right,
being rude
hold on,
here,
Darth.
James.
We're gonna get back on track. So what we're going to do is, I think that Red, you would ask Darth. I think it was if God is an ultimate or something to that effect.
Is God a concrete one?
I said God is his oneness and his manyness have equal ultimacy. Okay. The God of the Bible has revealed that he is one God, one being, one essence, and within his oneness and his essence, there are three persons. Okay, which there is a plurality within his oneness. His oneness and his diversity have equal ultimacy. Now, you do not accept that exists. Now, any
I think the Trinity is incoherent.
Okay, good. Okay, well then so then if the Trinity is incoherent, is it because you reject the notion of the one and the many?
Say it again.
Do you reject the Trinitarian doctrine of the one and the many, that God's oneness and manyness have equal ultimacy? Do you reject that nothing can possess oneness and manyness in equal ultimacy?
Nothing? I don't know anything about nothing.
Okay, so you're not even understanding the concept now.
No.
Okay. Do you? I want to know is, are you sticking with the metaverse that is everything? Is that a concrete one?
So this is just going to be an interrogation from this point?
I want to know if your metaverse is a concrete one.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, but it fits.
Well, wait a minute. So a few minutes ago, you were absolute that the metaverse was a concrete one. Now you don't know?
I want to go on to the next part of your script, Darth. Let's keep going.
So
right?
you don't know whether the metaverse is a concrete one or not a concrete one.
So let's go back to what I said in my opening
I
statement.
asked you
No,
a question.
Darth, be quiet.
I'm going
to talk right over you. I don't care what you say. So hold on.
Moderators, please step in.
So the
You promised
opening.
me,
Okay,
James,
hold on,
this
guys.
was
Hold
not
on
my
a
going to
opening
second.
happen.
statement.
Hold on a second. Hold on,
Okay.
guys. Hold on. So if I understand right, so Darth, you were asking a question of Red, and you were referring to something that was previously said in the conversation
correct.
earlier. And so let's give Red a chance to kind of
Yeah, well,
clarify
I want to know which is it.
what you are alleging is incongruent. Hold on a second.
Is the metaverse a concrete one or not a concrete one?
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks. We got that question. We'll let Red respond now.
So, in my opening statement, when I brought this idea up, I also brought out that I haven't ruled out infinite regress. Now, arguing for infinitism.
You're not answering my question.
Okay.
I'm
Darth,
getting to
you
it,
have to give him more
Darth.
Than four, you have to
All
give
right?
more than 4 words.
You're trying to
Darth.
pigeonhole me
There
to
we
where
go.
you want to go, but I'm not going to let you do it.
Here we go. Okay, go ahead.
So, in my opening, I said I haven't ruled out the infinite regress, right? But the arguments for infinitism are pretty tough, hard to explain sometimes, especially when in a discussion with you. So it's not something I was willing to defend. And so for sake of argument, I would accept infinite regress doesn't exist, right? So it could be, but it doesn't change whether or not
You're not addressing my question.
I'm getting to it, Darth.
Everything you just said now, I've heard this all before. I want an answer to my question.
Okay, Darth, we're going to let him go, so we'll give him a chance here. But before we hear more from you, let's give him a chance to finish attempting to answer the question.
Alrighty. So when I'm making the argument for the metaverse, right, it's trying to explain something that would fit the metaphysical necessity and the properties and stuff from those arguments, right? And so when arguing for it in the existence of the metaverse, part of the argument is that God, in those arguments, can't have any potentiality. You agreed God at one point had potentiality, right? So God fails to be the metaphysical necessity to those arguments, right? And so I proposed like a metaverse, right? That fits in between this. So where the universes and stuff like that, if there is more than one, who knows? We don't know that stuff. But that fits all the criteria and sustains the universe and stuff there, but it's not a creator, right? It's not creating anything. It's not anything that's doing...
I'm still waiting for an
God.
answer to my question.
Okay, let's how about this? What we could do, it'll be
How
like
about I get
we'll
an
have
answer to my
hold on.
question?
Yeah, I'm getting there. So what we're going to do is once Red feels that he has answered it, he can just say, ready, and which time it means that he is done giving all the details of his answer, and he's saying, okay, Darth, what's
How many times have I asked the question, James?
I have no idea, Darth. We're going to go over to...
5 or 6 times.
Okay,
All I get
we're
is
going to
a
go over to
filibuster.
Red now. So we do have to
Good.
give him a chance to respond if
Is
you...
the metaverse a concrete one?
Gotcha,
It is unimportant to the questions that we were dealing with when you brought up.
It's absolutely critical to it.
No,
because
it's not. You invaded.
Yeah, because the attribute or attributes of the metaverse will dictate what is coherent. Now, the mistake that you're making is that you think that there are certain logical principles that are higher than everything else.
I never
Only the
said that. Hey,
ultimate-
hold on, come back.
Okay.
You're trying to put that in my mouth. I didn't say
Okay.
that. I said
Is
there were
the
axioms,
metaverse
and we can change
ultimate?
the axioms,
Is
right?
the
And so
metaverse
that's how we got
ultimate?
on this metaverse stuff and the
Is
your
the
concrete and
metaverse
abstract.
ultimate? Is the metaverse ultimate?
Again, I've already explained that through the arguments and stuff and fitting
Okay.
through there.
Is
We
the
already got
metaverse
that.
ultimate?
So let's come back to the logic stuff
I want
that
an
you ran
answer
for.
to
Darth,
my
let's go back to the... I've answered
Is
it
the
countless
metaverse
times.
Ultimate.
Let's go back. I've explained the metaphysical
gonna
necessity
stop
and why the
with this
metaverse
question.
fits
Okay,
there. I've
so,
already gone through
Darth-
the argument why God
until the
failed.
question's answered.
Right? And
Darth,
you agreed.
what we
You
can do
agreed
is
God had
let's give...
potentiality. So God is not simple. So God cannot be the metaphysical
you're
necessity
repeating
in those
yourself.
arguments. No, but
You've
this,
repeated
this is the
yourself.
argument.
I
You
want
got
to know
blown
is-
the fuck
is
out.
The metaverse.
So let's
is the
go on
metaverse
to
what
the
is
logic
ultimate?
stuff that you're running from.
Yeah, James, you promised me you were going to get me a serious interlocutor.
So
I am a
Darth,
serious
Same
interlocutor.
clown
I blew the
show
shit out of your
Oh, here
argument.
we go. Okay, Darth, what
So
we're
let's
gonna
go
do
over
is
to
we're
this
going to
other argument
give
that you're
you
running
guys.
from.
We're going to
James,
give.
You promised
We're
me.
going to
You
give. All right, Darth. They can't hear you, Darth. I'm sorry, but so
yeah,
listen.
I promised you I would call you out on.
Darth,
Yeah,
how
you
do you stop?
Yeah, keep giggling.
Darth.
Yeah, I know
I
you switched the
told
answers.
you,
Like, thanks,
Darth.
Chad. I realize that. That's why
Okay,
I'm going on
Darth,
from.
hold
It's-
on. We're on this.
Doesn't
It's like
matter.
we're
Yeah,
all
you
friends
broke your
here.
promise
Darth,
again,
how did you find out how to unmute yourself?
Yeah, you know.
Darth, stop. Listen, I'm
Yeah.
being fair here. Okay, thank you, Darth. So
No, you're
we're-
not. You broke your promise.
Darth, this is like a game
Now
for
you're
you,
looking
Darth.
like a fool.
Darth. Darth. Okay,
Yeah.
Darth.
Now,
Darth.
now I know not to trust you.
Darth. How are you unmuting yourself? Is this some sort of trick? Do you have
Yeah,
some sort of?
it's mad.
It's okay.
Yeah,
We're
now
going-
I know not to trust you, James.
Darth, if you just give me like 8 seconds to explain, we can keep the conversation going. Why are you getting so mad? It's okay.
No, I'm not.
So what?
I'm not mad. I'm being assertive.
Darth. Okay, we're going to kick it over to Red as he's trying to bring in a new argument or question. So I know, Darth, that you've asked a question and you didn't feel like it is answered. But one thing we do need to do is we need to kind of do a favor and also
James,
let
you promised me you were going
Darth. We have to let Red run his argument as well. So
Oh, I want
let's
to hear an answer.
Darth. We're gonna
wanna
let
hear an
him.
answer to my
We can. I
question.
promise. What we can do, Darth, is we can come back
Yeah, you can
to
unmute
your
yourself.
question.
It's, I don't. I can
And
unmute myself too. But I'm not
Then
gonna push it on
but
there.
that's after
I'm
Red
enjoying
gets
this.
You
asked.
are
I'm right
a
where I
terrible.
want.
You
I'm
are.
not.
Okay.
He's gonna rage
Okay,
quit.
I know.
I hope he rage
I think
quits.
I've heard this story before. Okay, so we're gonna do
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
We're gonna
I wonder
Darth.
why that is.
Darth. Okay.
You're a
Darth. Okay, so go ahead, Red. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah. So the stuff he was getting away from was I was saying these logical principles are axioms. Change them into different things, and there's just ways of ordering the thought. Right. It doesn't matter whatever is ultimate or what any of these other arguments he wants to run and hide behind. Right. He also
It
wants.
does matter what's ultimate.
So
It does matter. Do you know why? You know why it matters, Red? Because what is ultimate? Listen, what is ultimate?
I love you, Darth.
Will institute. Well, let
you
me
are a
respond to him.
character.
He just said it doesn't matter what is ultimate. Well, it does matter.
Darth, can we let him ask a question? We want to give him a chance to ask questions.
How about what get him to answer my question? You've done
Wait,
this 5
listen.
shows in a row.
Listen, Darth, it's simply like this is like Skylar. So like sometimes people ask a question and it's not the way that, maybe we want a yes or a no or something like that.
Did he address
But
my
we
question,
can't,
James?
I can't like hold him down and like force him to say
Did
yes
he
or no.
address my question, James?
This is, he gave what he thought was an answer to your question.
Do you
I'm not
think
going
it
to
was
say
an
whether
answer to my question, James?
I'm not, Darth. I'm not going to have you drag me into your debate. I'm not going to take sides. So,
Yeah, well, you're the moderator, James.
which is
That's
exactly
your
why I
job.
won't take sides. So, what we're
Okay.
going to do is, we're going to let
Yeah.
Red ask a question. We can come back to your question.
No,
But-
I'm still waiting for my question to be answered.
We
Is
can
the
come back to that
multiverse absolute?
after. We'll come back to that after. Okay, Red, go ahead and ask the question.
You're terrible. You're absolutely terrible.
Okay, gotcha. Duly noted. Thank you. All right, go ahead, Red.
Yeah.
All right, so the what I was getting at is when I said the ultimate doesn't matter, any of that other stuff, and it doesn't matter. Is we're talking about logic and the axioms, the the different logics, right? When having this discussion, now if he wants to push me to a point where I say, well, the laws of logic are universal and all this other stuff, they're axioms, they're a way of organizing our thoughts, they're a way of dealing with deduction. So part of the question I brought to his answer, or had him tried to answer, was, so let's take the classical principles of logic, identity, non-contradiction, law of excluded middle, and all the stuff that goes with that stuff. And I proposed a situation where in starting a new country, in our Constitution, we write the first line.
Yeah, please don't repeat yourself. I already.
No,
heard
I want to
you.
bring it back to here because you didn't answer. You
You're
ran into a
wasting
different
my
direction
time.
or ran
You're
into your
running
script,
out
trying to
of clock.
redirect. So I'm trying to bring this
You're
point
running
up
out the
because the
clock.
stuff you're
Darth.
trying to make when we're talking about logic and
All right.
stuff here.
Simple question: does everything that you're saying now derive from the ultimate?
Darth, let's let him ask his
They're
question.
axioms,
We
Darth,
come back
right?
here. So
There are things
so
we can
Red-
take
Yeah.
as the base of our
you broke your
system,
promise
assumptions,
against me,
if you will,
James.
presuppositions, if you want to say that way, as a presupper.
Yeah.
So,
Are
anyways,
these things that you're asserting, are they real?
he's just gonna try to drive back to a script. So I'm gonna keep
No, what
going
I
on what
wanna
I'm saying,
know is,
James. You can keep
why do these things
chatting here. Let me get to the point I was making.
Why do these
He's gonna
things
try.
exist?
I'm gonna keep making the point.
Yeah.
that I was
So
making.
Darth,
So the
we do
question
have
I was
to
asking.
we have to give him a chance to
So
make his
in
point.
this hypothetical, right? Because
Yeah.
this is a show. Because part of Dart's thing is
No,
A
I
lot
don't
of
want
us
to hear
are-
hypothetical. I want you to tell me about your.
Darth, you're like
so.
Sorry.
Anyways, under the classical laws of logic, identity, non-contradiction, law of excluded middle, we have a situation. We write a constitution, right? In one line, all property owners can vote, and the second line, women can't vote. Sometime in the future, a woman acquires property. Can she vote? Use logic to solve that. Classical logic with those laws. Can you do that, Darth? Can she vote or can she not?
In your worldview, there's no grounds for logic and reason.
No, we start from.
You said, would you not overtalk me? Maybe someday you can grow up and act like an adult. Now, in your worldview, you just stated a minute ago, ultimate does not matter. It's not relevant.
So no,
to the
it's not relevant
You're
to
over-
logic,
You are
right?
over
Into these
talking.
okay.
axioms
Well,
and
let's
stuff that
give
we have
let's
for the
give
system.
to be
me.
fair. Let's give Darth a chance to finish, and then I
Yeah.
promise we'll come
Yeah.
right back to your
See,
question.
this
Red.
is the problem in our conversation. Okay, you want to dodge and evade. I'm not talking.
Okay.
I'm talking to Red. The
So-
problem in our interaction here is the same problem I have with all of my interlocutors on
Hey,
modern day
Darth,
debate.
listen,
He is evading.
we get
I'm making a point to Red. Red. Okay, you said
Darth,
it doesn't matter.
Listen,
So
I
all of
already
the
addressed.
truths-
I already addressed it.
I'm speaking to Red.
Gotcha.
Red. So all of these principles that you're invoking, either they derive and depend upon what is ultimate, or they do not derive and depend upon what is ultimate. Which is your position, Red?
Again, when talking about logic, and James, he avoided the question and the point I was trying to make here to go back to his script. But
James, he's evading the question.
hello, pot. Right? If you think I'm evading, what the hell are you doing?
Okay,
You need me to
so
repeat the question, Red?
I think that I do remember that last when I was like kind of zoomed in or anchored into the conversation, Red had asked Darth a question, and then Darth is answering, and then
I
Red.
answered his question.
Well, I think that I was defending you. I was saying, hold on, Red, because Red was interjecting a bit, and I said, hold on, Red, let's let him finish the question. Did Red? Do you feel like that question? Can you remember for me? I'm so sorry. I've got my attention is split. What that particular question was?
Yeah, so I was asking him, you give a situation using the classical laws of logic. Can he tell me the correct answer, whether or not this woman can vote, right? So the first line is in the Constitution, landowners can vote. The second line is women can't vote. Sometime in the future, women can vote. Use the classical laws of logic to solve that problem. Right?
Yeah. In
Gotcha.
your worldview, there's no ground for reason or logic. Now, I answered your question again. Now, these principles and concepts that you're putting forth, either they derive and depend upon what is ultimate, or they do not derive and depend upon what is ultimate. Which is your position, Red?
Again, you have been misunderstood. You have misunderstood what I've been saying, right? You don't understand what's going
This
on.
is the
I'm
third
telling you, Darth,
time
you don't
I've asked
understand.
the question that you're evading.
Darth, he didn't cut you off when you said that he has no foundation for logic in his worldview. So let's just let him answer your
Okay,
question.
all right,
So-
let's see if he answers the question.
I'll point out
And
he
if he
didn't answer
doesn't
the
answer
question
it-
how he solves that with logic. And so I'm talking about axioms and how we can change those axioms for different forms of logic, right? So they don't matter if there's an ultimate or anything there for those things, right? They're systems region. So we can do this with math
This
as well.
is not
Hold on.
addressing my
Hold
question.
on, Darth.
Yes, I'm addressing the question. So we can do this with math as well, too. So like one of my favorites is do parallel lines cross in math, right? Do parallel lines cross? Anybody know?
I'm waiting for an answer to my question.
I'm getting to it. This is part of the point. I'm making a point, Darth.
Yeah, the
all
whole
right?
show you've been getting.
Hold on, Darth. We it's fine if you at the end of him answering, if you want to say, hey, you didn't answer the question, which originally I asked this question.
James,
but let's just let him finish.
Did you hear him, James? Did you hear him specifically address my question?
Darth, I'm not gonna play
Of course
your
you
game
are, because you're a little spineless little jellyfish.
Oh, why do you have to make it personal? Okay, so
because it's self-evident to the YouTube audience.
Darth, they're gonna jump.
I'll ask the question.
Wait, no, wait. We already got that part. You already asked him the
Okay,
question.
I will be quiet.
Darth,
I wait an answer to my question.
I don't know.
So the answer, so what he's trying to pigeonhole this into is that any and all principles and stuff are relying on the ultimate. So when I bring up these different forms of logic, these questions, and in this case, shifting over to math, right? Do parallel lines cross in math? Most people probably say no, right? But we have different maths, right? In one math, parallel lines will cross, right? So in non-Euclidean, what happens there is we change the axioms.
I'm not
right?
hearing
So having
an
an
answer to my
ultimate
question.
doesn't matter when we have a set of axioms and can work from them that way, right? This is simple foundationalism.
Dude, do you have a comprehension problem?
Okay.
I've answered the question, chat. Have I not answered the question on that?
No,
you have not. Come on, let's see some ones in the chat if you think I answered it.
These principles that you are invoking, okay, do they derive and depend from what is ultimate, or do they not?
How many times do I have to say no? They're axioms. They're things.
Okay.
There are axioms that we take.
So there's no reason why these things exist. Are they brute facts?
No, I'm not. We can change the axioms of logic to deal with contradictions.
You're not understanding. No. Whatever these particulars that you're talking about. Do particulars exist in your world?
So why are we back to particulars all of a sudden when we were talking about axioms of logic?
Every time you talk about logic, reason, things like that.
Well, your question was whether or not they depend on what's ultimate or not. I've been explaining to it.
Okay, hold on.
Chat agrees. Chat, all ones are in there.
Darth,
are these principles that you are invoking?
Okay, so Darth, I muted you again. I hate to do that, but I had to do it. So what we're gonna do basically is, if you want to mention at the end that he didn't answer the question, that's totally okay. But let's just let him finish. Okay, so Red, if you have any last points for that last question.
Yeah. So what I was getting at with this point, right? So he wants to pin everything has to go back to the ultimate, and we can take. This is simple foundationalism and stuff. We can take set of assumptions, axioms, whatever, properly basic beliefs, whatever you want there, and get derivative beliefs from them, right? And so when I was bringing up math,
filibustering.
I'm not I'm explaining it, right? I'm getting ones all through chat from.
You haven't addressed my question.
I have. I'm just I've addressed it, and I'm explaining more before you go on to the next question in your script.
What was my last question? What was my last question to you?
The last one, the one that I was answering, was
the last question I asked you?
Do these principles? Well, so you evaded and you went over to particulars when I was answering.
What was my last question that I asked you?
So the one I was answering before you tried to throw the particulars question was, do these principles rely on some ultimate before that and stuff? And I've been saying
the last question was, are these principles, these real things that you're invoking, are they brute facts, or do these real things that you're invoking, do they derive and depend upon what's ultimate?
They're axioms, bud, right? I've explained this time again, and I've been going through that here. Axioms, properly basic beliefs, whatever you want to say. I have never said brute fact. You're trying to pigeonhole me. You're trying to go down your script. I'm giving you the answer. You don't like it, and you want to move on, and I'm not letting you move on.
Either these real things that you are invoking, either they are brute facts or they are not brute facts. Are these real things that you are invoking brute facts?
I never brought up brute facts once. You're bringing that up.
Okay. That's not an answer to my question. Are these real things that you are invoking? Are they brute facts? They have no explanation for why they exist, or are they derived and depend on what is ultimate?
Neither.
Okay, there is no third category, sir.
Yeah, there is. I've been explaining that third category the whole time.
Do you know what a brute fact is?
I know what a brute fact is, but I didn't claim a
what is
brute fact.
no,
So
what you did.
Let's go back to
Okay,
what I actually said.
Do these things that you are invoking are real? Do they exist in virtue of something that they derive and depend upon, such as an ultimate? Or do these real things that you are talking about, do they exist with no identifiable reason?
Neither.
There's no third option.
Say it again?
There's no third option.
There is a third option.
No, there isn't. You ever heard of the law of excluded middle? Okay. Either something is A or it is not A.
I've been just talking about how we can change and move those.
Now, please do not overtalk me. Now, either these real things that you are invoking are ultimate themselves, or they're derived from that they're ultimate, right? They're derived from an ultimate, either something ultimate or themselves are ultimate, or they are without reason. In other words, there's no reason why these real things. So these real things that you're invoking, either they exist because of a reason or they exist without reason. Which is it?
So you just heard Darth bring up the law of excluded middle. And earlier in this discussion, I mentioned we have logics that do away with the law of excluded middle, right? They're axioms.
I'm waiting.
And we can change the axiom in there. That's why we have fuzzy logic, multi-valued logics, right?
You're filibustering.
I'm not filibustering. This is the answer. You're trying to force me into something that's not what I'm saying because it doesn't fit your script.
Darth. Okay.
James, why don't you?
Darth.
Why don't you let
Look, Darth.
You,
Okay, Darth. Look, we are going to go to the Q&A shortly, so thank you, Darth.
So if
One second.
Hey James, if we want to move on to a different part, a different couple of things to hit. There's a couple of things I brought up I wanted to hit with Darth that we haven't gotten to. So if we go before we go to the Q&A, if you don't mind me bringing it up.
No, there's not going to be.
Okay, so
James.
Darth is quite triggered right now. So Darth, I don't know how you found out how to unmute yourself. So what we're gonna do is Darth. Okay, just chill out. Darth,
I will chill.
did I just hear what I think?
I'm telling you right.
Darth. Okay, I just need you to relax. Darth.
James.
Darth.
Not going to be.
Okay, Darth, seriously,
not
you're the
going to be
only
any further-
person that I've ever wanted to give the boot to. Okay,
Good. Give
just
me.
calm down. Okay, no, you like it too much because you're
Good,
sick. Okay,
give me the
just
boot.
relax. Darth,
Darth,
no. Okay, so what we're gonna do is go into Q&A shortly.
Do you mind if I ask some of those things and at least get them on the
No,
table?
we're not
for the
doing
Q&A?
anything.
Oh yes, we are. Okay, so here
No,
we
we're
go,
not.
Darth. Darth, why are you always so uptight? It's like you had a bad day or something. Okay, so let's just hear from the question. Let's hear the question from Red. Then we can go to Q&A.
No, there's not.
Darth, you can't interrupt him every
There will-
time. Darth, you have to let other people
Was
talk.
debated.
Seriously. Okay, here we go. We're gonna kick it over to Red. Go ahead, Red.
All right, so there's a couple of points in my opening statement that I wanted Darth to address that we haven't gotten to yet.
It won't be answered.
Okay,
Well, so let me
gotcha.
just lay it out
Duly
here for the
noted.
chat and kind of lay out
No,
where.
no, it will not be answered.
I don't
Darth.
care
asked
if you
a
answer,
direct
Darth.
question
All right,
and you
I just want to
refuse
have it
answer
laid out here in the mind so it's not ignored, right? Everybody's gonna get lost into all the fun we had in the middle and ignore what I brought up in my opening statement. So if you just let me get to that, then we can get to Q&A, and we can call it a night. So, anyways,
Red?
you're talking about
You accidentally muted Red.
Yeah,
Oh.
you promised me you were going to have an adult
No,
interlock,
Darth.
James.
Just
Why did I get
stop,
muted?
Darth.
So I don't know if anybody heard anything. So how far back do I gotta go?
Like 4 seconds.
4 seconds. All right. So Darth mentions natural revelation in his argument in his support for his system, right? And so part of that in his view, and I've heard him argue elsewhere, that God justifies induction, right? So that it solves the problem of induction and stuff like that. But he believes in miracles. How does he rectify that? How does he square that circle there? But even if God does justify induction and the uniform in nature and all that stuff, why does Darth deny things like evolution? Right? How does he? So the question that would come out of that, his denial of evolution in the natural revelation is how he determines what is and what isn't the natural revelation, right? That way, if he's going to deny evolution, right? Because the natural revelation says, hey, evolution's a thing. This is how God did it, right? As a former Catholic, I had no problem with evolution. So those are the kind of two things dealing with his natural revelation point.
Are you done?
Oh, I'm done.
Okay. I'm going to repeat the same question you did not address. Are the things that you are invoking that are real, are they brute facts? Do they exist without any reason, ultimately?
Neither.
No, it's either they exist with reason or they do not have a reason, ultimately.
No, that's a false dilemma.
What is the third option?
So you changed it from reason something, but neither, right? They're axioms.
What is the third option?
They're axioms, they're assumptions, they're things, presuppositions.
Are axioms real?
What do you mean by real?
They do the axioms exist?
No, axioms we take are, well, depends on what.
Is what you are invoking real?
The laws of logic? No. They're axioms to a system.
Okay,
of,
so
deduction.
axioms are axioms real? Are the
axioms we take as true might be real. So they takes things like
are the truth claims that you are presenting to me now, are they real?
The truth claims? You mean
are
they true?
Are you making any truth?
So are you
claims?
saying they're true? What that they're axioms of the system, the laws of logic?
Truth claims?
Sure.
Are you making any truth claims?
Sure.
Are these truth claims, these things that you're invoking are real? Either they are brute facts, they exist, they're real, but they exist for no reason, or they exist in virtue of what is ultimate. Now you said it's neither. What's the third option, that these real things exist?
So now you're moving the discussion around in a couple of different terms, right? So when we were talking about like the laws of logic, the principles of logic,
I want an
those are
answer to the
axioms.
question.
So let's bring this
the third option.
So truth has to be a real object that exists in reality.
What is
that what you're saying truth is? Hold on. Because now we got into making truth claims and whether or not, and then you're calling truth claims are real.
I want the YouTube audience to know he's
so no, listen, let me ask you a question to clarify. All right?
I'm waiting for you.
So is it true that Superman can fly?
Okay.
Is it true that Superman can fly? Is that real?
Superman is not real.
But is it true that Superman can fly?
There is no Superman. Superman is imaginary. He doesn't exist. Now,
but it's still true that in the world constructed for Superman can fly, right?
Okay,
even if that truth is not a real object in reality.
Superman does not exist. Superman is not real. Now,
the truth that Superman can fly is true, right?
Putting forth to me, are you the propositions that you are asserting, are they fiction or nonfiction?
What, in the Superman thing? Yeah, it's fiction. But is it true that Superman can fly?
Listen to me. See,
answer the question. Is it true that Superman can fly?
You do not know how to have an adult conversation.
I do, now, right? I'm trying to poke a hole in the question and argument that you're trying to ask to me.
You promised me, James, you were going
to... Okay, so we will let Red have this last word with an answer, and then we will go into the Q&A.
You broke your promise.
So when he he wanted to get when he started saying truth claims are real, like as if truth in anything there exists in there. So any and all truth exists, right? And so I brought up, can Superman fly? Right? Is that true? It's true that Superman can fly, right? The point of that is that not all truth is necessarily real in reality here, right? I mean, this is going to go into like modalities and possible worlds and stuff, right? And worlds that don't actually exist. right? But
So
then we
you're
can say
putting
true
forth
things
fiction?
about him.
Are you putting forth fiction?
Oh my God, he doesn't understand the argument.
No. So I want to know:
He doesn't
are the
understand the
things that
argument.
you are giving? Are the things that you are invoking? Are they real? Okay. Are they real?
What do you mean by real?
That they exist.
I mean, they exist, but they don't exist in reality.
Okay,
If it was that
now,
way, but
these things that you are invoking that they exist without reference to God, are they brute facts or not brute facts?
they're axioms. Either.
Are they brute facts or not brute facts?
They're axioms. They're neither.
Are they brute facts or not brute facts?
They're axioms. They're neither.
Are they brute facts or not brute facts?
They're
Okay,
axioms.
I think we
They're
had
neither.
enough. We're gonna go into the Q&A. So
Are
do
your
wanna say-
axioms,
do
hold
wanna
on,
say
are your
thanks
axioms
so much,
brute facts?
Darth. When we have to go into the Q&A, we have to go into the
Okay,
Q&A.
here's my question. Are his
Darth.
axioms, this is a
Darth.
legitimate question. I'm responding to
Darth, you've been extremely rude. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
it. And
okay?
you've been
Listen,
very rude
Darth,
to me.
when you can
You
have a
broke your
conversation
promise.
like an adult, Darth, we can talk
You
about
broke
this.
your
But
promise
right now,
to me, James.
listen, you broke your promise, okay?
No,
to
I
everybody. You broke your promise
you
to the
broke
whole
your promise
planet.
to me.
All right, here we go.
You broke
Listen,
your
you
promise to
broke
me.
the most promises, Darth. Here we go.
No,
Thanks
okay, now
so
you're
much,
lying, James.
Darth.
James,
Darth.
now you're lying to the YouTube
Darth.
audience.
You said
Remember our
that you were going to be
conversation, James?
reasonable. You said you were going to be reasonable.
I am being
Darth.
reasonable, and I'm not going to be wrong.
Darth. Okay.
You know
Thank
what,
you.
James? Hey,
Appreciate that.
James.
Darth.
Don't ask me to be.
Darth. Okay, Darth. Listen. What the heck? Okay, that's all right. It makes it easier on me. We still, not trying to brag, folks, but we've still never actually booted anybody. Nobody's more tolerant than modern day debate. Believe me, okay? People love to talk about being tolerant, but we put up with Darth. Okay, so next up. Oh, Darth, no hard feelings, but Darth, come on, man. You have to seriously. Sometimes it's a little bit too much. So we'll ask as many as we can that are relevant. Beware, Red, that Darth may pop back into the Zoom window and start criticizing me. That happens sometimes.
All right,
Okay,
I'm ready
thanks.
for it. I had a lot of fun tonight.
Always fun with Darth. Okay. So, oh my goodness, we survived it. Let's see. I'm almost there. Dunkin Atheism. Thanks for your super chat from I'm sorry, Wilson, who said, James, I just hope you properly screened Dunkin Donuts, Dunkin Atheism's, or Darth Dawkins' opponent this time, because nobody wants to see another cry session on Discord. I didn't know that. Okay. Stephen Thien, thanks for your super chat, who said, I'm sold. Congrats, Darth, on the win. Mothra J Disco, thanks for your super chat, who said, the only revelation is Darth is a I'm not going to badmouth him while he's around, but thanks for that super chat, Mothra J. Movie Theory, thanks for your super chat, said, excited to see the butthurt atheists blame the moderator for their side losing. LOL, watch, folks. I guarantee it'll happen. Michael, sorry, I get Michael and Movie Theory confused. Movie Theory, I am officially removing your wrench because you were just so rude. We're very fair. We're very tolerant. The only rule that we have hard and fast is we'll never have hate speech here. I'm usually very patient, so I'm not censoring Movie Theory, but having the wrench is a privilege of Movie Theory. You're fired. Okay. I'm sorry, Wilson. Thanks for your super chat. Who said, James, stop over talking Darth when Darth isn't speaking. Thanks for that. Michael Dresden, thanks for your super chat. Got a critic here, Red, said, Red is already struggling. He's our neighborhood troll, in case you hadn't known. But if you want to respond, you can. If you don't want to, that's totally
it depends
okay.
on when it was in the debate. We'll see where we're at. But I don't know what it's in reference to, but
I think he was just saying that for being a troll. He trolls all the time. Maynard Sames, thanks for your super chat, says, is over-talking Darth a universal negative? Thanks for your super chat from Mothra J Disco. Let's see. Again, pretty hard on Darth. It's like Carol Snow, thanks for your super chat. Didn't see a question, but if you have one, fire into the old chat and I'll read it for you. Andrew Milne, thanks for your super chat, who says, has anybody seen my daddy? It's been 8 years. Re. Okay, thank you for that. You Basra J Disco, thanks for your super chat. Who said universal truth in Darth. All right, I don't want to be too hard on him when he's gone. Tioga, thanks for your super chat. Who says, "Hail, what is this? Io Aumbala, who fed Ymir and freed Buri." Must be I'm behind on my pop culture. I have no idea. Boo the Cat, thanks for your super chat. Who said, "DD, can you choose thoughts before you think them?" Well, maybe he'll pop back into the Zoom window and tell me I am the worst moderator ever and answer your question. Sorry, he's not here. And movie theory, here we go. Says MDD pandering to atheists again. I don't think so. I think that this time it's like, I agree. To be fair, it's true that both sides were, Red had a comment about Darth earlier on that was rude, but Darth continuously interrupted, which is kind of like, it's like we'll let some like aggression fly, but eventually it's like, okay, seriously, I'm just gonna have to mute you if you do it too much. Next up, the story of a failed dentist. Thanks for your super chat. Who said, "Darth, stop running from..." Who's Jack Angstreach?
Oh, it's someone on his troll list that's been on there for a while. I imagine I made the troll list tonight, though.
Gotcha. Xanos Carthage, thanks for your super chat. Who says, "Why does DD keep interrupting everyone?" Blaster Master 80, thanks for your super chat. Who said, "Does Darth think he is an honest interlocutor?" Brian Stevens, thanks for your super chat. Can't believe we had Darth rage quit twice in a row now. Brian Stevens said, "The ultimate nature of reality, James is alpha." Very kind of you. Very funny guy. Calub, thanks for your super chat. Who said, "DD, I don't understand how you plan to convince any atheists by following this script. It's non-effective every time. Try having an actual convo." Stephen Stain, thanks for your super chat. Who said, "James is just an alpha living in a beta verse." That's good. The Undead Christian, thanks for your super chat. Who said, "Red, you talk about a metaverse, but do you think it existed prior to the Big Bang? If so, you can prove it, or can you prove it? And are numbers finite, and do they change?" There's like 4 huge philosophical questions there, so we'll let you do one at a time.
The first one, so the argument for the metaverse comes from prime mover arguments, right? And so part of the argument in favor of that over God is that God doesn't satisfy the properties necessary for the metaphysical necessity, right? So that would be the deductive proof to metaphysical necessity, and the abductive one, if you want to say that, for the metaverse over God.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Appreciate your... Oh, that's right. There are a number of questions. So the other one was, if so, can you prove it?
So that would be the justification right there, would be that argument, right?
Gotcha. Then
but even then, I said that it doesn't really matter, because I don't think you can rule out infinitism yet, like infinite regress. So I just took it, in this debate, for sake of argument, that there's a metaphysical necessity that terminates an infinite regress, right? I wasn't going to make the other argument. It doesn't really matter either way, but...
Gotcha. Thanks so much. And next up, appreciate your super chat from... Oh, wait. So the last question from the Undead Christian was, are numbers finite and do they change?
I don't know off the top of my head. Right? I'm not... like I said, I don't know everything in detail. I'm not super well versed in everything, but I know enough to beat Darth, his argument.
Thanks for your super chat from Tioga. Says, this must have been early in the debate. They said, "James hasn't giggled once in this debate. Sad." Gotcha. Well, there was plenty of giggling. I just can't help it. It is so funny. Sometimes I can't help but laugh, because it's just seeing people get so fired up, and it's like, why are you getting this way? Next up, Caleb, thanks for your super chat, or as he sometimes likes to be called, Caleb, said, "From a Christian, please stop with the script." And then Stupid Whore Energy strikes again. Thanks for your super chat. She says, "All natural numbers cannot be finite." I'm sorry, Wilson, thanks for your super chat, who said, "James, you better not be giggling. So help me, James, there is no giggling. Darth is offended by giggling. Darth is a super, what is it, cereal? I don't understand." And then they said EMK.
The super cereal is, I think, a South Park reference to the episode with Al Gore, the man bear pig. I'm super cereal, guys.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Brandon Ardeline, thanks for your super chat, who said, does DD ever plan to debate and present actual evidence or at the minimum an argument? Let's see. It's because it's kind of hard on Darth. I don't want to be too hard on him. I know that I've been admittedly hard on him, but now I'm kind of like, I want to forgive and forget. Life's too short to have your heart bound up in anger or resentment. So it's like, Darth, I bet you're watching. I hope you know I love you. Hope you're doing well. Ches Elliott, thanks for your super chat, said, Darth, evidence that God is. Oh, okay. So this is a little bit like the Descartes' evil demon argument. So they said, Darth, do you have evidence that God is not either? Like, what if God is evil and trying to trick us? Like, is that a possibility? That's an interesting question. Let's see. Sterling's our producer tonight. Sterling, do you want to like play the role of like, is there a way out? I mean, because we don't have a Christian to answer this, and I hate just like not having at least someone attempt to answer it. Do you want to answer this question? All you'll have to do is unmute yourself on. You'll have to unmute yourself on OBS where
Right.
you have your. There you go. So the question was: is there evidence that God is not evil and tricking us? In
Right.
saying that He's loving.
Right. So, well, if you took it from like a Thomas perspective, ultimately God is just pure actuality, right? So if you take it from that perspective, like to be evil is just a privation of the good. So to even be like evil and have evil intention, things like that, it would have to be a privation of the good, and therefore God couldn't be evil. Like our characterization of evil involves lacking in some way. So, and since God is by definition doesn't lack in any way, He couldn't be evil. So I'll just mute that and go on my way.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you filling in for Darth. And thanks so much for your super chat from Genius Tracks, who says, Darth, your script is not working. I'm like summarizing because it's a lot more detailed. Let's see. And let's see. This is just ripping into Darth. So let's see. For the James, the channel's been awesome. Thanks for your that nice ending to that super chat. Appreciate it, Genius Tracks. I'm like, yeah, I know. Like let's refrain from like indulging in some sort of vengeance. So I know that super chat wasn't meant to be vengeance, but I don't want to throw Darth under the bus any more than I have already thrown him under. But Caleb, thanks for your super chat, who said you seriously need some new donuts, Duncan. MK, thanks for your super chat. Tag me in, James. I'll moderate this. Oh, MK, are you the one that Darth used to say is the worst moderator too? We have something in common, friend. Okay. So let's see. Loken16, thanks for your super chat, who said can't stop DD LOL. Fat Photog, thanks for your super chat, who said this deserves my hard-earned money. 10 out of 10. Duncan Darth Dawkins rage quit. Melee Time, thanks for your super chat, who said Darth wants serious but ignores people from Tom's. I don't know. Maybe they mean Tom Jump. I don't know. Tom Jump, if you're out there listening, we love you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. We might have Tom on for a provocative debate, folks. I have to Tom's idea. I got to give him credit for this. We might have him on to debate whether or not deplatforming or actually debating super controversial views. So, for example, like a week ago, we had some.
Thanks, Leprechaun. He went in a completely different route I wasn't prepped for in the beginning. So I had to steer out of it.
We'll say that. So I'm not that way though, and we've platformed people like that though that are like arguably NEO and a word that rhymes with the game Yahtzee. We have had those debates with those types of people because we figured, hey, if the arguments against them are good, which we believe they are, then the opposition will prevail against those. How do I say this? I don't know. Twisted views. And so Tom may debate somebody on whether hey, should we just pretend those people don't exist, or should we go to battle and debate them?
Right.
And so that should be a lot of fun.
Because
I know that some people have
real in that sense,
different opinions on that. So
down his script.
Next up, so anyway, like I said, Tom's idea, really interesting one. Brandon Ardeline, thanks so much for your super chat. Said if he doesn't answer my question, then I can't proceed with my script. Okay, I think I know who that is. Okay, Caleb, thanks for your super chat. Says, Duncan, why are you the only one permitted to interrupt? To be fair, I have to give credit. Duncan did let Red interrupt a little bit. And like I said, a little bit is fine. That's why for a while it was like, you guys are doing a little bit back and forth. And I'm like, not a big deal. It wasn't until it got out of control that we stepped in. I'm sorry, Wilson.
Yeah.
Thanks for your
Well,
super chat.
I couldn't let him go and run from stuff to go back to his script and ignore what was said. Start changing things around. So I had to hold him firm.
Gotcha. I'm sorry, Wilson. Thanks for your super chat. Who said, you better hide that smile behind your mic, James. That's honestly no joke. A lot of times when you see me do this, where I put the mic up to my face, it's because I'm hiding like a smile or containing laughter. But I also do it a lot when I'm not, because that way I figure you guys don't know if you're doing a false positive, if you're guessing that I'm doing it. But I just do this. You could say I do a type 2 error where I like, there's nothing there. I'm not laughing, but I put it here just because that way you guys won't know. I don't know. I'm sorry, Wilson. Thanks for your Kevin Gulfu. Thanks for your super chat. Said James is showing, quote, I'm done with this energy, and honestly, it couldn't be hotter. Gosh, Kevin. Okay, SJ Thomason, thanks for your super chat. Said, Red, why do we value truth and reason if we're accidents? Why should we even trust our own decisions if our minds haven't been instructed divinely?
Oh boy, that's a long one. What is she looking at as accident? Just as like how is she using accident? I mean, I imagine it's because no plan, no direction or anything, but just because there is no apparent direction or aim in our evolution, for example, doesn't mean we can't trust. Yeah, but that's another topic or debate to get into.
Gotcha. And thanks so much for your super chat from our dear friend. Oh, hold on 1 second. I had the page reload on me. Thanks for your super chat. We're going to catch up here. We got... Oh, this one's a good one. General Balzac, real name. Thanks for your super chat. Who said, stop being a spineless little jellyfish, James. Fun debate chat is mostly with Red. I'm sorry, Wilson. Thanks for your super chat. Who said, don't make DD any angrier. He'll beat. Okay, I'm not going to read that one. Let's see. SJ Thomason. Okay, we got that one caught up. Andricus the Great, thanks for your super chat. Saw you deleted it. If you have a question, fire it into the old live chat, tag me, and I'll ask it for you. Stupid or Energy says, does DD, Darth, realize, let's see, his God in the Christian worldview would be a brute fact? Is that, well, I mean, you might differ. I don't know. I can't speak for Darth.
Well, I mean, if
Sterling,
Darth actually made arguments, I mean,
hold on.
It wouldn't
All right.
be.
We're gonna just because he's not here, we're gonna keep on moving.
Well, no, I'll just say like if he made like an argument towards a metaphysical necessity, which his argument hinges on, it wouldn't be a brute fact.
Gotcha. And I suppose Christians might disagree with that, or not with that per se, but they might have different views on whether or not God would be a brute fact. So I don't know if I want to make you defend that, Sterling. I'm sorry, Wilson. Thanks for your super chat. Said, what's the difference between this debate and DD talking to his, let's see. I don't know what that means. It seems like it's a naughty joke. Supreme Leader Kim, thanks for your super chat, who said, to Red, A or not A, what is the third option?
So that depends on what you're using with certain logics and certain questions, right? Right. So there's multivariate logics and fuzzy logics and stuff like that, where you can have an indeterminate value that comes to, and that was part of the big point I was making about the axioms, that we can change them, right? So he wants to push those as like universals, parts of the universe, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, we change the axioms, we have different logic. We can get rid of this, excluded metal and stuff like that, and use a different logical system. And in some cases, like the hypothetical with the Constitution I brought up, we like classical logic. If we use those classical principles, there's included in principle of non-contradiction is the principle of explosion, which contradiction you can lead to either answer, right? So she can vote, she can't vote. So we have logics that deal, they're called dialectic paraconsistent logics, that can deal with that problem. to some extent, right?
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat from our dearest friend. Appreciate it. Stupid whore energy. She's sassy. She says Supergirl exists and I am she. Thanks for that. John Rapp, thanks for your super chat, who says Superman is as real as God. He's in a book too. So Sterling, would you ever be up for a debate? Because I mean, I guess I don't want to read. Let's see. I'm trying to. Well, how about this, Sterling? If you want to play the role of Darth Dawkins, John Rapp's super chat, because I don't want to read super chats off to the against the Christian worldview that we're not going to like allow an answer to. So Sterling is our producer. He's philosophically adept, to say the least. John Rapp, what would you say to the Sterling? What would you say to the super chat? Superman is as real as God. He's in a book too.
Well, I mean, so the Christian obviously thinks that God has a referent, right? Like that there is something which it means to be God, like his essence is in his existence, that whole definition thing. So no, that's not true. And also just kind of to defend Darth Dawkins a little bit when he was talking about,
Well, I mean,
what he meant
that's,
to say was that
Leprechaun,
Superman
that's
doesn't
why
have a
I was,
referent. So like if he doesn't have a referent, like all our definitions about Superman are paraconsistent. We can like just make up any definition about Superman and it's going to be consistent. Just to defend him like a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, that's how Darth
fair,
behaves.
no
that's why I never
problem.
went into his Discord and I
Let's
refused
see.
to.
P. Barnes, thanks for your super chat, who said, well done, James. Don't take his crap. We love Darth. I take a lot of his crap. I'm a spineless jellyfish, but sometimes it's like, Darth, can't go forever with this. Andricus the Great, thanks for your super chat. John Rapp, thanks for your super chat, who said, Red Venture, well done. You are the ultimate. Stupid Whore Energy, thanks for your super chat. Said Red. Let's see. If you're willing to give this the most charitable attempt, I'll read it, Red. So Stupid Whore Energy said, Red, how do you think Darth thinks God justifies his beliefs? So, I mean, if you want to try to speculate, you can.
He never explains it, right? And so the big problem, and the one I wanted to get to that he was never going to ever address, but thank you for letting me state it there at the end before comments. He just asserts it, right? At that point, he just asserts it, right? But he also believes in miracles, right? And miracles would violate, things like uniformity of nature. God can change it from yesterday to today, and so God can't justify induction, and that's part of his argument. And so he has a contradiction, and his argument becomes incoherent. That's what I wanted to get to, but he was never going to do that. He was going to hold me to his script.
Gotcha. Spacebar Apologetics, thanks for your super chat, who said, was Didi's argument a form of the Kalam? Not quite. Hunter Bailey, thanks for your super chat, who said, no resurrection, no Christianity. Thanks, I'm sorry, Wilson, for your super chat as well.
Yeah,
said,
that's what I was looking for. Like,
ever heard of Dr. Sephiroth?
Like I said,
Jesus
politics Discord that he hangs out in, that they schedule debates with him.
Thank you.
Have been on me.
Andricus the Great, thanks for your super chat, who said, we were worried about Red, but he did well. Cheers. You got a fan out there, Red.
Thank you.
Franks92, thanks for your super chat, who said, good job, James. Thanks for your kind words. It's always busy with Darth. We hope you're well, Darth. We know you're listening. I know you're at home and you're watching. Okay, thank you for your super chat, Stupid Whore Energy. You said Nephilim free. Let's see. Okay. She's debating with Nephilim free in the live chat. She said, your question ignores the fact that brains can take exorative inputs. It's equivalent to a layman learning that atoms are mostly empty space and then telling people to stop sitting on chairs. Thanks for your super chat, Stupid Whore Energy again, who says, no good is deprivation of evil. I think that's in response to you, Sterling. Let's see.
That's not true. That's like a Schopenhauerian view, but it's like really, it's really poorly defended. Like it'd be really hard to argue, right? Like, because then anything that was negative would have negative value. Ultimately, you would lead to the conclusion that you should probably kill yourself. But yeah, it's bad.
Gotcha. Thanks so much for your super chat. Philip, who said, hey, Red, I know that you said the laws of logic are axioms, but can you justify them pragmatically or provide some other weak form of justification?
I don't even try to justify them. Really? Right? I can assume a presupposition. It doesn't matter whether or not I justify it. I mean,
Gotcha.
we would like to under principle of sufficient reason, but I can take them, just like when I take induction. So for inductive reason, I just assume that at that point I don't have a justification, and that's part of the problem of that's Hume's problem of induction, and that's part of what Darth's argument hinges on.
Gotcha. And thanks, Caleb, for your super chat, who said, please no more DA not watching next time. I don't think DA is ever going to come back. Talus and Overlander, thanks for your super chat, said Red Sun is the best Superman. IL, thanks for your super chat as well, said Red, you understand what Red, you understand what Darth meant by concrete one. I think they're saying, do you understand what Darth meant by concrete one?
What Darth was getting at, I don't, off the top of my head, no. In terms of what it is elsewhere, a little bit. Like I said, I'm not super in deep in a lot of this stuff. I know enough to get in trouble. Let's just say that, and enough to, dismantle Darth's argument.
Thanks so much. Subtracted for your super chat. Oh, Sterling, they're coming at you, Sterling. Ooh, yes, get ready. Okay, they said, hey, Sterling.
Yeah.
If God isn't universally definitional, how can God's nature be uniformed and concretely ultimate?
Wait. Okay. I never said that God isn't uniformly definitional. I gave a definition of
universally
God. Universally definitional. I gave a definition. God's essence is in his existence. So I don't know if he's like equating I think that he was making the mistake that when I was talking about Superman, right? Because Superman because it's a fictional character, it's like unicorn. You could define it as any way you want to. But God isn't like that. He has a referent.
Gotcha. With that is all for tonight, folks. Thanks so much. Appreciate all of your questions. It's always fun. I'm waiting for Darth to pop back in the Zoom chat any second.
They can't hear me, but I would wonder if I could ask a question of Red.
Yeah, go ahead.
If that's okay with you, James. I don't want to.
If you can turn your,
sure.
Are we still live?
Yeah, we are.
If you can unmute unmute yourself. That way people can hear the question that you have, Sterling. Awesome. And then we will give Red a chance to answer, and then we'll wrap up.
So my question is when you were referring to, when you basically were saying that God doesn't fit the justification, the conclusion basically of being absolutely simple. How do you address like palmistic types of, active potencies and things like that, and the Cambridge changes argument that's brought up when people talk about divinely simple things?
It's been a long while since I've looked at them, so I'd have to look at them again, reacquaint myself with them to have an answer. Top of my head, I don't have anything big on stuff. But and like part of my thing, arguing for metaphysical necessity, I don't think infinite regress is out of the question yet either, right? So one argument I could make against metaphysical necessities, I take the infinitive. Right?
Nope.
Yeah, that's one way. That's one way I could address it off the top there.
Okay, fair enough.
Gotcha. Thanks so much, everybody. It's always fun. Soon enough, now, those of you can hear Sterling. He has been the voice that you've been hearing in the background, our producer. He is actually, you've seen him already in these vegan debates we've had recently. We're probably going to have a vegan debate this weekend. It's a possibility. It might be Friday, by the way, Sterling. We got to find the exact time. I'm figuring that out. But soon enough, Sterling is actually going to be arguing or debating whether things such as whether or not God exists. It's going to be really fun because that's more of his wheelhouse. So that's going to be really fun. And he's very good with veganism in terms of he's well read on those topics. But it's going to be even better when we get to those philosophy of religion topics. So want to say, folks, thanks so much. We hope you feel welcome. I know that Darth left and that Darth and I got into it, but want to say we really do hope you just have gentleness and love for Darth. I really do actually like Darth. Sometimes we butt heads a little bit and we say you let everybody down. But I really do want to say, hope you feel welcome, whether you're Christian, atheist, no matter where you're from, no matter what walk of life, we do welcome you. And so thanks so much, folks. It's always fun. Want to say thanks so much to our guests, Darth, who is no longer with us, and then also Red. Thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll be hanging out on my stream for a little bit if anybody wants to talk some more in chat. I may open up Discord or whatever to talk over
You
there.
got it. And I've linked both of these guys in the description. I'm also going to link Sterling, who's our producer, who has saved the day because, like you've probably noticed in the last couple of weeks, my internet just hasn't been able to hold it up. So Sterling was kind enough to help us out today. And so thanks so much. We will see you. Let's see. I think tomorrow we don't have a debate, which is surprising. First Wednesday in a while. We haven't had one. We will have one, Lord willing. We're thinking Thursday we'll have a debate, Friday as well. And then I think Saturday, Sunday, even at least Saturday. So thanks so much. We'll hopefully see you then, folks. Have a great night. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable.